excited to get into it and kind of talk about what we're going to talk about today. So just give just a quick background of sort of what you do.
Okay, quick version of what I do. I am a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. So I focus more on eating the right amount of foods and getting away from eating as little as possible and cardio, right? I want women to be able to feel empowered, confident, and lift heavy weights. And so I focus a lot on what we're able to build instead of take away, right? It's usually eat as little as possible, do as much cardio as possible. And that's not the way we get to our results. So I love it because I have the chance to be able to coach women from across the world. I've got an online app that I manage every day. And I also just recently started coaching and helping other trainers be able to learn how to build their brand and scale their business. Because I've loved what I've done. It's been such an amazing opportunity. I want to help other women be able to build their own businesses and do the same thing. So it's busy. It's a lot, but I really love it.
Yeah, sounds like a ton.
Yeah.
And we'll unpack it today. You know, hopefully we can go through sort of all of it and kind of talk about, you going from, where you started to now being able to not just run your own business, but help other people run their own business. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And the timeline isn't very long.
No,
right?
no.
It's been
like a crash course from, I entered a gym to build my own body and learn how to lift weights pretty much the beginning of 2018. I got certified at the end of 2017, but I started 2018. Yeah, so in the last 4 years, I've built my own body, learned how to grow other people's confidence, mindset, bodies, then start a business and figure out how to launch and run a business. And it's kind of been a whirlwind, but really, really good.
But the best kind of whirlwind.
So good. And there's been so many people that have helped me get to where I am. And I've realized not everybody has that same opportunity. I've been very fortunate in surrounding myself by around really good people. And I'm very driven. And so that combination has been awesome. But not everyone else has that opportunity. So I want to be able to help them learn from what I kind of, wobbled through so they can save time. So yeah, it's been a crash course, but so good.
Awesome. Good. So your business, what is your business name?
So my company is Gunning for Fitness. My last name is Gunn. It's a little play on words.
See what you did there?
Yeah. Pretty. It took me a minute. Do you know how much pressure it is to pick a name?
It's a lot of pressure.
Brand name? Yes. I'm I don't want to change this. This represents everything. And what if I evolve? And so it's been fun.
Awesome. So we'll all include a link to your website and everything in the description. And then you're also on social media.
Yep.
Correct.
Same
we'll
thing.
plug
Gunning
those
for
as
Fitness.
well. Gunning for Fitness. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome.
All right. Let's just jump into it. And then, if I have questions, I'll ask them.
Start.
So I guess start from the beginning and talk about sort of how you began back in 2018.
Yeah. So my whole mission, honestly, is not just I have a few hours to kill. My kids are in school. I want to find a job. I was hell-bent on my transformation was so pivotal mentally for me that I was I've got to share this with every other woman alive. And so I started in my local community and I was that's not enough. Women need to hear this message. And so now it's everywhere, which is so crazy. I have clients from Dubai, to India, to England. It's so cool to see that women everywhere have the same insecurities, same questions. We're all the same. We're just in different places. And so it's been a really cool experience.
Yeah.
So it's good.
So I guess, we should probably start sooner than 2018. Because, you're able to walk these women through, some of the challenges that they're facing, that they're going through. And I think the most effective way to be able to do that is if you've done it yourself. So it sounds like this is not just, something you read in a book or learned about in a class or whatever. It's real life experience.
Yeah, I think I'm hoping that's what resonates the most is I get it. I've been there. So every time, somebody says, hey, they open up and get vulnerable, I struggle with this. I was that's awesome. I did too. That's okay. Because so often we think we're the only ones going through this. Why am I the failure? Everyone we see online, every girl down the street seems to be able to stick to their plan, make good choices, love their bodies. Why is it just me? And that's what broke my heart. I don't want women feeling like they're not enough, they're not worthy, and they're the only ones that can't be where they want to be. My tagline is I want my women to feel, look, and move the way they want to, right? At their strongest version. And we tend to just think, I can't do this. I'm not enough. They can, but not me. And so my whole premise of this is helping them to build their confidence, because I've been there. I know what that's like. And if I, being no joke, like the wimpiest person on the planet, I wish you knew me before. Like, if I can do this, anybody can. And so I was like, well, yeah, you only go up from me. So if I've been able to do this, I just want to help every woman feel that way. And I would say, like, I have women of all ages that are on, but I think people that resonate the most with me are women that are in the same boat. Like, we have a couple of kids and our bodies are, all over the place. We look down and don't recognize how they feel or move or look. And it's like, where do I start? This isn't me, but I've loved the experience of going through giving childbirth and raising these babies. But I want to find my healthiest and strongest version again. And it's so overwhelming where to start. We sometimes feel selfish, taking time away from our family. But we also, when we're not at our healthiest version, are our best version. And that was probably the movement for me that I think was the defining moment to get me where I am now. Right? Because you talk to anyone that tries to make changes, diet changes, I'm going to exercise, it's the first of the year, it's all the things we do, we start over and over again, and we lose motivation. And I finally realized that after experiencing that myself numerous times, I'll start again. I had a defining moment with one of my daughters that humbled me to my core, that gave me a reason why to shift all of my habits. And it had nothing to do with being skinny, because it was always like, I want to get back to that pre-weight, right? I don't know why I picked this weight, but I'm like, if I ever weigh like 135 again, all my problems will be better. And it has nothing to do with the scale. And so I had my defining moment that kind of changed the course of what I was doing. And I haven't really looked back from there.
Yeah. So does that happen a lot with women, that they have that number in their head that they sort of define everything on, even though it's probably very arbitrary?
Yes. Yeah. So that's probably the thing I'll ask the most, or what's your goal, right? Like, we were chatting, where would you like to be? Why would you like to work with me? What are you struggling with? And they always come back. Generally, the first thing they'll say is, well, I want to lose 40 pounds. I said, great. So let's say you want to weigh 150. And she said, yeah, I just need to get back to 150 now. So great. Can I ask why? Well, that's what I weighed before I had kids. I was like, okay, so that was like 4 years ago. Okay. Were you happier then? Well, this is the classic answer. Oh. No, because when I weighed 150, I wanted to weigh 140. Like, we're never happy. So you lose the 10 pounds. And then she's like, I said, okay, well, great. Well, 2 years before that, you did weigh 140. Were you happy? No, I wanted to weigh 125. And so when we can just grasp the concept that the scale that we think only measures body fat, right? Everyone thinks that the only number on there is just fat. And I'm like, no, it's a combination of water weight, of muscle mass, of bloating, of amount of earwax you have, of bowels, or how much did you have to pee or not? Like, that number doesn't just, emulate body fat. And so we can separate that from our worth, or our goal is huge, is paramount. And so I always would say, now describe the body you want. Don't tell me a weight number, because you don't know what your strongest version of you is. What is your healthiest version weigh? Well, I don't know, because I know at 140 I wasn't healthy. Exactly. So why do we keep aiming for that number? And so I just try to explain, like, walk me through what you want to feel, move, and look like, right? Give me 6 months or a year. And they'll always describe somebody generally that has muscle tone, that can keep up with their kids, that can hike with their family, that can stand up and off the ground and feel stable. They describe like a movement, and I want to be able to do a pull-up or a push-up, or I want definition on my arms. And I'm like, okay, you realize none of that comes with hitting this the scale of 140. It's a whole different action plan. And so, yeah, there's a huge deep tie to the scale. And I feel like it's almost like a therapy counseling session at first, of trying to break that and trust the process, that there's so much more.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool that you do that, because I do the same thing with, so I used to be a teacher. So the students that I taught, or kids that I coached, or now employees that I manage, I use this, and I used it actually with a manager the other day, where I said, who is somebody that you idolize, or who is somebody you look up to? And he's like, oh, this person. I was like, okay. Typically, when you idolize somebody, you idolize their qualities, and these are qualities that you wish you had yourself. And when you're not moving towards those when you're not moving towards that, who that person is, or the qualities that they have, you feel really crappy about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times they're like, oh, like it kind of bridges this gap between what they thought they should have been doing and what they should actually be doing.
Yes.
And when they finally bridge that gap, they're like, oh crap, I've been doing these things all along, which is completely wrong. And that's why I haven't felt much better. If I do these things, I'm actually moving towards the person that I want to be. And it makes them feel better, gives them more empowerment, heightens their confidence and stuff like that. And I think it's interesting that it seems like it's sort of the same thing, the same approach that you take with your clients, because what they want isn't actually the picture that they have in their head, or it's not tied to the scale. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. I find with this, because it's a journey. I wish it was an easy sell of, hey, go buy a mattress. Great, done, pay for it. One decision. I'm asking someone to change their life, right? And it's not just like get a workout in 3 times a week. It's like making a healthy food choice over and over and over again, like day after day. There's no relief. And it's like one of the hardest sales to make is to convince somebody you're worth it. You will feel better, trust the process. And I find it's more of, and I wish women would grasp this, that it's a mindset shift. It is not about weight loss. Like, to set yourself up for success. One thing I always try to explain to women is, we quit and feel like we fail for numerous reasons, right? We start a plan, quit it over and over again. And it's like, why couldn't I stick with, not drinking, or eating as many cookies, or, getting in bed on time, or exercising, whatever those habits are that they wanted to improve. And then they feel like a failure. And that's the one thing I want women to avoid, that horrible feeling, because then our self-worth plummets. And so I have to finally describe to women is, it has nothing to do with the action. It's not that you can't, you wanted to stop eating 3 cookies a day, or you failed at exercising. They just associate as like, I can't do that. But they don't understand why. So when I break it down to like, okay, we got to skim this back of, it's not that you suck at being someone good that goes to exercising. You are not a consistent person. And so if we can get the disconnect, there's 2 totally different things. Like, I'll ask them, do you floss your teeth? Oh, no, like I really want to. I do it like once every 2 weeks. Is that bad? And I'm like, no. But that's one of the cheapest, easiest, you're already in the routine things of doing. If you can't stick to flossing your teeth even every other night, what makes you think you're going to be able to stay away from cookies and get to the gym? So it's like, I really, really want them to focus on setting them out. Like, you got to set yourself up for success with realistic expectations. And they first have to step back and have the self-awareness piece of like, what can I do? Because it's habit changes. So I'm not going to focus on macro tracking if I can't floss my teeth every night, because that tells me that I'm not naturally a consistent individual. And so I got to work on being consistent, and then progress will stay. And so it's such a mindset shift that you must set yourself up for success. You've got to analyze, like, what do I suck at? Okay, good. I can handle that. I need to work on that trait of being more consistent. So I always tell my ladies, like, I don't care what you do in the gym. I don't care if it's a 5-minute, 2-minute, or an hour-long workout. The whole point is the checking of the box is showing up, not completing the workout. So show up. I don't care if you talk the whole time. I don't care what you do when you're there. I mean, you know me, I talk quite a bit when I'm at the gym. But the whole point is you stay consistent with the habit of going. Because there are days you're going to kill it in the gym, and days it's going to be terrible. You're not going to get anything done. But you be proud of yourself because you still showed up. But we want to keep that habit. So that's a huge piece people miss. They just jump in thinking they're going to be amazing at all these things when we don't always have those traits, which is myself.
Yeah. And I think a large portion of the population is the same. I'm the same
ask
as
how many people floss. That will answer your question.
Yeah, right. Maybe we don't want to.
I know.
Just kidding. Okay, so I guess that is probably the main thing that you try and instill in people at the beginning when they're struggling with that, is just, it's not, getting the workout done or not. It's just showing up. And then that's the first piece. And then kind of just building from there.
Yeah. I mean, again, because I've gone from nothing, right? Like zero good habits. I didn't even know what a calorie was. I ate everything I wanted. I'd never exercised. I would drive to the mailbox 4 houses down. When I say there wasn't a more lazy person, It was me. Like I could win an award. And so, but coming to where I am now, completely different individual, I had to look back and be like, what was it that made that transition? Why have I been successful at staying with the plan, right? At sticking with it and making it a lifestyle. And it comes down to shifting how I viewed it. The entire mindset piece.
Okay.
Like every little thing. It wasn't that I showed up to the gym more than anybody else. It wasn't that I wake up early or that I hit my protein every day. It's that I took the time to build a solid plan of figuring out what works for me with no expectation of timelines. Because if it was easy, we'd all be doing it, right? Sure. And so when someone's like, great, I mean, I had a gal ask me once, she told me, I'll join your program if you can guarantee me to lose 10 pounds in a month. And I was like, you can guarantee me or guarantee you. Like, I'm not going to do any of the action. But the mindset right there was like, that's what I used to think. She's missed the whole process that this journey, if I can use that word, changes who you are. Otherwise, I mean, because who you are now, if you don't move, feel, and look how you want to, every single thought and action you have through the day has gotten you where you are. So you picking up a diet or buying a PDF file to follow, with some exercises, it doesn't change anything, right? It's a challenge. It's a short-term thing. All these habits have gotten you where you are. Maybe you're 40 pounds overweight, maybe whatever it is you're at. That's you. Every one of your thoughts and actions has gotten you there. So we have to take time to undo that. And the problem is, I think we hear too often, I've got to do intermittent fasting, because these are the questions I get from day one. Well, do I need to do intermittent fasting? What supplements do I need? Do I need to macro track? And I'm like, whoa, slow down. It's building that foundation of the basics and then moving step by step by step. Because my goal is to make this a lifestyle for people. This is not, I don't talk about weight loss. I know every woman, to include myself in the beginning, wanted that, but you will never hear me talk about that online, in my program, ever. That's like a byproduct when your habits have changed. Because I'll tell people, did exercising put on that 40 pounds? Well, no. Why do you think just exercising will take it off, right? It's looking at the thought processes and the emotions of why we eat. And there's a lot to unpack. And so I just want women to be able to walk through that process so that they do see results and not quit again, because they don't know what's wrong and why they can't stick with the plan. Because there's a lot. It's all mindset.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing. I mean, that's the whole theme of this podcast is mindsets. Because it's the basis of everything. It's the beginning of everything. If you want to change your life or change the things that are in your life, you have to change it up here first, and then the rest will kind of follow. And that was actually one of the most significant things that I've learned through, all of the reading and podcasts and videos and stuff that I've been studying for, probably 5, 6, 7 years now, is that piece with, it really starts with who you are in your mind. And it's also the hardest thing to do. It's the hardest thing to change also.
Yeah. If I were to give anybody a tip, it cannot be weight driven. And just like the example we gave before, no matter what weight you're at, you're never going to be happy. Like as a woman, it's rare that I come across somebody that is like, this is how I want to feel, move, and look at this number. And so I always try to have them find a reason that's strong enough to get them out of bed in the morning. Because I used to lay in bed and I'm like, oh, my alarm's going off at 8:02 because I hated mornings. Do I want to get up and go to the gym? No, like I'll get skinny tomorrow, because that was my only goal, was to lose weight. So I'm like, I'll lose more weight in 2 days. Like it's not worth getting up. But for me, I found that I put on like 20 pounds of fat in a year, which for me was a lot. I didn't know how to operate with that because my habits were so horrible. And so I kept thinking, was driven by that number on the scale, that my swimsuit didn't fit anymore. But it became more important to me in the year 2017 when my husband and kids kept saying at night, why are you so irritable? Why are you so grouchy? Why are you getting mad at everything? Like that was it's constant. My husband was saying, like, are you okay? Like you're snapping at everybody. And I was a stay-at-home mom, and the mom guilt was terrible. And of course, when he would say that, I would get more mad at him because I knew that I was snappy, but I couldn't control it. And I was like, you understand that? Just like escalate to a whole other argument. And then I would get in bed and hate how I felt, but I had no idea why. I didn't know what to do about it. And so my pivotal moment was my daughter was brushing her teeth, and I was standing next to her because she was younger. This is a couple years ago. And I don't like bathrooms. Like I don't like germs in bathrooms. And so she was brushing her teeth and just dropped her toothbrush in the sink. not any big deal, right, to a rational person. But I was so annoyed. My anger went from like 0 to 100 because I was like, oh, like we can't use that now. Like the base of the sink is dirty. And so I overreacted and I got so mad at her. I'm like, I'm either going to have to go get you a new one or boil your toothbrush, or like, we're screwed right now with the toothbrush. You look back and it was ridiculous. But at the time, everything set me off. I was utterly exhausted. And I was just dead. And so her eyes, like when I was yelling at her over a toothbrush, it makes me emotional talking about it. Like her big blue eyes looked up at me and she just was like, what did I do wrong again, Mom? And that, it annihilated me. And I realized like, my kids won't remember how skinny I am. Nobody cares how skinny I am. Nobody on planet Earth. But people will remember how I make them feel. And so if I continued on this same path, their memories of growing up would be that example by the bathroom, which is like, oh my gosh, it still to this day makes me emotional. Like, that's not what I want anyone around me to remember feeling like and or describing me as. Again, it has nothing to do with being skinny. And so from that point forward, I realized like I have to change. And I know it had to do with my diet because I ate crappy. I had no movement. And so that is my reason for being so uncomfortable and finding a program online to follow and cutting out sugar. And they were horrible. It was so freaking hard. But I didn't have a timeline because I knew that this would be a long process. I had 37 years of eating like this crap. And so why on earth would I think in a month I could fix it? And so I just said, great, the next couple of years, like I'm going to make myself better. And I never had any anticipation of entering a gym and weightlifting. I just thought I'll do workouts from home. I'll start eating better. But I knew that I was on a path for being healthier, which would make me a better mom and wife and everything else. So that reason, every time I looked at that kid, my little girl, it was like, this is why I'm doing it. This is why I can put the cookie down. This is why I can get up and walk. This is why I can do this. Like, I didn't need motivation. I had her and my 3 other kids staring at me, knowing that I wasn't the best mom, and that gets you up in the morning. And so if I can instill some sort of reason for women other than the stupid scale, which was it's a mind trick. Like I had to really, really separate that, but then I found something deeper. And the payoff was like 4 months later, my same little girl was in the kitchen on the bar. And I remember I was pulling something out of the fridge, and out of nowhere, she says, oh, you seem happy, Mom. And I said, yeah, it's been a good day. And, she said, no, Mom, you seem happy. You don't yell anymore. And oh my gosh, like I just bawled because it was so hard to not eat that crap and like not to go out to eat and have soda and chips and say no to some of those things. And like, I hate working out. I literally loathe cardio. And so it was like the hardest 20 minutes of my life, but I did it because I was determined to be a better person. And, to have her notice, like without me asking, hey, am I nicer now? Like I hadn't even noticed I stopped yelling. But for her to notice that as a little kid, those are the reasons we get up. So if I can help empower somebody to look farther than just how they look, right? It's feel, move, and look. I feel like that sets you up for everything.
Okay, so that's the process you follow is feel, move, look?
Yeah, because
that
we're
not the hierarchy.
Yeah. So everyone's like, oh, I want your arms. I'm like, great. 4 years from now, you'll have these arms. Well, what? I want them now. I was like, this is 4 years of working on arms, right? And so, it's those little baby changes that happen, and you go just little bit by little bit, building that confidence. And it works. You just have to kind of go and understanding that if you jump into tracking macros or calories, those are just a reflection of your daily habits. And so you can't jump in just expecting following some macros to change your life. Really, that's a reflection of what you're doing. So focus on those habits, and in time, everything comes. Okay. So it's all mindset, right? Everything has to be shifted.
Yeah. So that's good to know. That's really good to know because, I think we all just automatically think of, how I look is going to be the first indicator of whether or not I was successful with my dieting or my workout. And that shouldn't be the case. According to you, it should be how we feel. So that will be the first thing that'll change if you start on this path. Yeah,
you're going to feel different. You're going to feel better. You start to move better. And then you start to notice my clothes fit a little bit different. I got up and off the floor easier. I have more energy, I yell less. Like those things I think if you were to ask a mom or another woman that's doing something hard, works all day, like those are invaluable. And so as you do that, in time, that the body then that's used to years of these other habits, the body will start to reflect those changes. And honestly, the speed for which people see results, and I think this is key, and I think we overlook this, and you can apply this to any aspect. You can apply this to how I grew my business. You can apply this to what you're doing, is I have what I call my level of effort scale. And it's not how hard something is. It's your level of effort, and it's from 0 to 10. And so someone at level 2 effort and 10 can be equally working just as hard, but they'll see different results. And I think the reason people quit anything, whether it be selling an item, changing their body, whatever it is you're doing in life, you get out what you put in, right? And even though it may be hard, you think, I'm putting as much as I can. But on a 0 to 10 effort scale, if we're being very self-aware, you're maybe at 3. You get a lot more you could put in, but we quit because we want immediate results. We're not looking for the move and feel. We're looking for how I look. And so, for instance, like when I first started, I was probably -2. I'm not even kidding. I wasn't even on the scale. It was so bad. And now I'd probably say I'm a 9 or 10. But I first started by just cutting out sugar. That was it. I didn't know anything about a calorie level. That put me at like a level 1 or 2. And it was horribly hard. So it doesn't matter how hard, but I wasn't willing to check calories or look at my protein or vegetables. Like all of those other things were harder on the scale. I was just at level 1, which was hard. And then it was like, I'm going to do 20-minute workout 3 times a week following a video. And I paid for the cheapest program I could find, which put me maybe a level 2 effort. And then I watched that 20-minute workout video to an hour of Grey's Anatomy. So now I've spread out the cardio over an hour, which isn't a huge effort, but for me, it was so hard. And then I remember thinking, well, I still don't look like the girl down the street. And so the problem, the disconnect is I'm putting a level 2 effort in. She's putting in level 8. I should expect a level 2 body and how it moves, feels, and looks. She gets a level 8. But the disconnect we all have is I want her body. And I'm like, you're putting in level 2. Like, you're not going to have a level 8 body. Like, she's putting in more. And so I realized that, like, immediately that I had to put in more. And so the cool thing was I then shortened the workout from an hour to doing the 20 minutes. Well, that bumped me up to level 3, right? I made it more effort. And then I realized the crappy Costco protein I was buying wasn't working. So I invested in a better protein supplement that moved me up a level effort. I paid for a better program that was more money. These are all sacrifices, but that it's more effort, and I started seeing more results. And that's when I understood, okay, so maybe I'll look at my serving sizes now. That bumps you up more effort. And so if you're only going to the gym 3 times a week, sometimes hitting your protein, I want women to know that's fantastic. That's way more than where we were at -2. Like, I was so proud of myself at a level 3 because that's the most I've done in 37 years. The disconnect is when we overlook of being proud of what we've done and moving up slowly and jump up to want the results of something else. And so I just keep telling people, like, if you want that, you got to be in a mental place to then pay for a coach or buy the better supplement or track your macros or whatever it may be, and you'll see results. So I wish women could correlate, stop comparing someone that's at a level 7 effort when you're at level 3.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's huge. That's super important. I mean, is it just repetition that kind of gets people to understand that? I guess you can call it a law because it applies to a lot of stuff. You can't get out more than you put in. It's the law of exchanges kind of thing. So is it just you just tell them over and over and over again until it kind of clicks with them, or?
I think it's time, and I'm sure you've experienced this too. Is as I look back for me, I stopped comparing and looking at the output, and I just looked at how I was doing every single day, because I don't think we set ourselves up for what we can realistically do each week. Sometimes we say, great, I want to be a level 7 body. I'll work out 4 times a week. Well, we can't sometimes. Like, I didn't have the confidence or the consistency skill, that habit built yet to do that. So then every week I'd fail. Like, I'd say I'm going to do 4 times a week. That's my goal. It was a great ambition, but realistically, I knew I wouldn't do that. Like, why did I set a goal that I knew I would fail at? Or some people work so many days a week. You literally cannot, due to circumstances, get more workouts in. And so you just do the very best that you can. And as time goes, because you'll start to move and feel better, and then you'll start to look better, that confidence will grow, and you'll better understand you and what makes you work. And then it's like, I can do a little bit more. So that's what it did for me. Like, I saw some results doing my 20-minute workout over an hour. And then it was like, well, what better results would I get if I actually did it in 20 minutes? And then it starts over being hard again, right?
Yeah.
So at first it was hard doing the hour workout, and then I got it down and it was easy. And then you jump up again to level 3, and it's like, wow, this is a lot harder doing it in 20 minutes. And then that got easy. And then it was like, okay, now I think I want to try something else. And so it's very humbling, because in that level number, you'll get really good and confident at the top of level 3. And you're like, okay, I'm ready to increase it. You jump to level 4, and then you're so humbled because it sucks again. And so it's just that constant every day looking at how can I do the best today, knowing that I've got 60 more years to live and I got a long time to change habits. And it's confidence. It's understanding that the look will come the more consistent I am at a pace that I can manage long term.
Okay. So let's kind of talk about your background a little bit. You mentioned it. You were 37.
Correct? Yeah, when I started.
When this started, and you also had how many kids at this point? We know your daughter, who
changed
your life.
4.
So 4, okay.
Yeah.
So 4 kids.
So I got 4 kids. 37. I was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
Where I entered the shift, I've had little shifts. Like you only know what you know, and so like in my little sphere, it was like I can only do cardio. It didn't even enter my head to ever go to a gym or lift a weight. That wasn't. That wasn't even a thought. It was just, I'm going to stay home. I'm too cheap to pay a babysitter. I don't want my kids anywhere else. Like, it's an inconvenience. I'm just going to do what I can from home. And so I ate as little as possible. I remember thinking, oh, great. I got super busy. It's 11 o'clock. I skipped breakfast. That's that many less calories. Okay, if I don't eat that, then I'll get skinnier. And I was doing cardio to get skinnier. And so over that year, I did lose all the weight. And I realized I was a stick, and I weighed my goal weight. Like I wanted to get back to 137. I was like, I just need to hit 137 because that's what I used to weigh. And I remember the day I got on, I don't own a scale at this point. And so I had to go borrow my girlfriend's. I got on, it was like, oh, the skipping meals and cardio at home worked on 137. And then I had the dawning moment of like, but I'm not healthy. I still can't do a pull up, and I'm not happy with how I look. Like it was a pivotal moment of like such a letdown of, crap, all year I've worked so hard, and the number says what I wanted on the scale, but this is not the body I wanted. Yeah. And so I felt better though, and I could move better. So that was enough for me to realize like, hey, I'm not the same person at -2. I'm now at a 2 or 3, which is, fantastic. I was thrilled. But I knew there was something else. I didn't know I didn't know how to get to the next step. So I kind of continued where I was until my baby was going into 1st grade, my 4th kid. My little girl. And so I knew that I wanted to work, and I had a job lined up, and I was with a friend, and he was asking me about, hey, you excited to go back to work after, 15 years of staying home? And I told him what I was going to do. And he was just like, you're going to be bored to death in an office. Like, that's not your personality. And he said, you are so good with women. You're so encouraging and loving. And I've seen over the last couple months, just this change about you. I want you to come be a trainer with me at this gym. And I was like in a gym? Like, what do you do in a gym? And he's like, you'll just do cardio and core workouts, because that's what I kind of specialized in. Okay. And I was in the gym like 3 days, and I was like, oh, it's all about the strength. Because it was a pivotal moment. I was standing on the floor of the gym. I've told the story, like it's a two floor, and it's all weights on the bottom and cardio on the top. So I'm at the end of the gym looking forward, and there's like a cable machine and pull-up bars, and directly above that is rows of cardio machines. And I remember looking at this lady, because my goal was always to do a pull-up, and I just hung. I had no movement on the bar. And it never really occurred to me that I could do it. But I'm watching this woman that appeared to be my age, and she was cranking out. She would do like 2 or 3 push-ups or pull-ups, drop to the ground, 2 or 3 push-ups, jump up, 2 or 3 pull-ups, push-ups, like the 2 things that I always thought was like so badass, like someday I'll do. And then I was watching her in total awe. And then I happened to glance up and see everybody on the treadmills, like slunched over, looking so miserable, walking over and over. And I was like, I could do that, or I could do this, that, or this. And I was like, I don't know how to do this on the ground floor, but sign me up for whatever she's doing. Because it was empowering. She was building. She was, I don't know, it was a completely different field, because I had done the treadmills. I had done the cardio route, and that's where I was now. And so that for me was like the moment of, you have a choice of an action plan to get you to the results that you want. And I think people miss that. I think we just need to starve and do cardio like what I was doing. And I got to where I was, and that was like, that's not the body I want to build, which is why I ask people, tell me what you want to do. How do you want to move, feel, and look? And then we come up with a plan. And it's all strength training. So that's what I started doing. I asked one of the trainers that was there to help kind of teach me, like, he offered for me to join his workouts, and I took notes after notes after notes of what we did and didn't really ask why we did it. And I'd go home and YouTube the terms he used. And that's how I learned. I mean, I was certified, but you don't learn anything when you get certified. So it's like application. And so, yeah, I just learned.
Okay.
And the whole rest is history. I was like, light bulb went off. I'm like, this is where it's at. I've got to get every other woman picking up a weight like now. And so that's been my mission.
Yeah. So I've noticed over the last year, maybe even 2 years, there's been this explosion of women weightlifting, and it's becoming a normal thing when, from at least my experience and from what you're saying, I don't think it was a normal thing for a lot of women to go in and with the intention to weightlift. What happened? It seemed like it just exploded overnight. Do you know what happened? Was there just more information available, or?
Yeah, it's because it is trending now. I mean, we were all, I think, if I can say this, like, raised to see our moms just be skinny. I mean, those are the models. That's what you heard. Eat less, diet. It's all cardio. Like, nobody lifted weights because you're gonna be bulky like a dude. And so it just, I mean, I like dudes that are bulky. That's great. That's for you. But like, I don't want to be bulky. And it's intimidating. It's scary. I'm going to hurt myself. I don't know how the heck to do it. And, it's lifting is such a small piece. Nutrition is the most of it. I mean, exercise is like 10-15% of seeing results. It's all nutrition, which we also miss that key. Everyone thinks I'm going to exercise and change. And I'm like, whoa, that's nothing. You want to change your body, you got to eat better. And so there's just misinformation from, I think, what we've watched and seen. And so I don't know who or how it started trending, but it's a movement. It's on fitness now. It's not like following people for cardio workouts, and cardio is great for heart health and we enjoy it, but it's more of, let's get away from being skinny and not being skinny. I'm not saying being skinny is bad, but I'm saying let's find a strong version of it. Let's focus on what we can build, what we can do with our body. This women empowerment, I think. And you can be a badass at any age, and it's never too late to start, which is what I'm telling women. Like, if I can start at my age, I mean, a quarter of my clients are in their 60s, 50s and 60s.
What?
Oh, it's phenomenal. Like, and they're doing pull-ups at
squats.
60. Yes, they have like biceps, and I have a whole Instagram account that's just like their success of posting, like sharing like these women at age 40, 50, 60, 20, like all these ages. My whole movement is just, you can always build. You can always do hard things. Because if you ask yourself, like you ask most women, do you feel good dieting and trying to get skinnier and a relationship with the scale? No, it's awful. I feel like a failure. I'm never at my number. It's discouraging. I have cheat meals all the time. I fall off the bandwagon, right? It's like all of that negativity. But my thought is, I'll say, okay, great. You just finished a strength workout with me. And we finished it with some protein. We're going to have a huge breakfast after this, like knowing we're going to build this muscle we just worked at. What is this feeling? And she's like, when you told me to go heavier and I pounded 20-pound dumbbells on that press, I've never felt bigger than the entire world. And I was like, that is what I want women to feel. Sense. Yes, it is not the go die on a cardio machine for hours and eat salads all day. Like, we feel like crap. But if I can get a woman to balance her nutrition with things that will make her feel better, eat more quality dense, nutrient food, and slowly change those habits with the idea of building a strong body, which will still end up being thinner, right? And still will lose body fat because that's part of the process, but it's not a focus, because there are so many reasons that we'll plateau and not lose body fat, a million reasons. It's not just to eat less. It's, well, what is your gut health doing? Where are your hormones? What are your blood sugar levels? Like, all of those will impact why you don't lose body fat. And so people get so frustrated, they stop, they just stop completely. So I'm like, stop focusing on losing the fat, focus on what you can do, building. The fat loss will come as you find more of what works for your body. So it's a mental shift, but I'm determined to get women to view it that way.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm still blown away by the 60-year-olds in there pumping iron. That's amazing.
Yeah. You guys check out the Instagram account. We post pictures all the time of them flexing and doing hard things, and it's really, really cool.
That's amazing.
At any age.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that makes sense to me why that probably is exploding, because I think there is more education that kind of helps shift people's mindsets. Because honestly, I didn't even think about it this way, but if the majority of women were eating just salads and doing straight up cardio and stepping on the scale. So the entire process was miserable. And then stepping on the scale, and even when they did reach the number, they still didn't feel any better.
Yeah.
Like what part in that entire process is enjoyable? None of it. And it makes sense why, if you start lifting and doing focusing on these sorts of things, you actually start to feel better. It makes sense why people will start to gravitate towards it. And I hope, most women do that, because it's nice to see women who are happy and satisfied with what, not just with their bodies, but what they're doing, and feeling empowered. And it's really cool. It's a cool thing to see, and that's awesome that you get to be a part of that.
Yeah. I'm just like a small little part as they make these hard changes. They're waking up earlier, they're sacrificing money for a coach and for supplements and for healthier food and babysitters so they can go exercise. Like, it's not an easy thing to ask someone to do, but their long-term health should be more important than anything. And I'll ask clients, like, you pay for your kids' piano lessons, you pay for their hitting coaches for softball, you pay for their soccer tournaments, but you won't pay for a $25 program to get you healthier. And as moms, we just don't do that. As women, it's always putting others first. And so it is true, no one's happy if mom's not happy. And that's what I finally found. Like, it's okay. I've got to be around. I've got to be healthy and strong for my kids. But then it also sets the example for my daughters. That was a big thing, is I don't want them to see me, portioning out my food and being so obsessed about, if I eat this one cheat meal that everybody says, I'm going to blow up 10 pounds. And I don't want them seeing that. And so it's more about trying to make those healthy choices and making the most nutrient dense choices, but also still living. Like, I have a treat every single day. I had a big bowl of ice cream last night. Like, you still should have a treat every day. It's just in moderation, watching the serving sizes. And so you just got to find what works for you. And cardio is not bad. I don't mean to put it that way. It's just, you've got to find what your goal is. And not everyone's goal is to strength train and to have, muscle and move better. So great, then do cardio, right? Cardio is fantastic for heart health. We enjoy it. A lot of, most group classes at gyms are cardio, and it's a sense of environment, and it's a group of, strong women supporting each other. So there's a lot of good reasons. We just have to make sure that how we want to move, feel, and look, the action of what we're doing, it gets us there. And so there's not a right or wrong. It's just, if your goal is the things that most women that come to me are, it involves strength training. And so it's just understanding how to build like the most awesome version of you. But it takes a while, because if it was easy, believe me, everyone around me would look the same, right? We would all be there.
Yeah.
But we're not.
So I guess we talked about, you starting late in fitness, 37. So what about looking on the other side of the spectrum, and you talked about how moms are always constantly trying to spend money on their kids, trying to get them into sports or whatever, and they won't spend on themselves. What's the best way if someone is trying to get their kids to lead a more healthy lifestyle? Mm-hmm. What do you do in that instance? Or what's worked for you? Do your kids kind of do the same thing, or how does that work?
That's a great question. And the answer is, depends on the kid.
Okay.
Because out of all my kids, I have some that have embraced it and some that can't stand it. And so I think that's just my advice is, you can do what you can do as far as setting an example for your kids, right? Without forcing it on them. It's those little things that we do, right? Our actions speak way louder than our words. And so they've watched me wake up early, right? I was not a morning person. I mean, not at all. But I wake up at 4:45 in the morning now, because to get done what I need to get done, it's important to me. So they see that, okay, that was hard for mom. We all grew up knowing not to touch her before 8 a.m. or she'd get really mad. She didn't want to be woken up. But now she's waking up at 4:45. And so then my kids will now say, I can do it. So like my son, he's always swum competitively, just stopped. So now he's able to lift weights where he couldn't before. And he gets up, he leaves my house at 4:50 to go to the gym before high school starts. He's a senior in high school. And this is a kid that sleeps constantly. And I said to him, like, the second day, what are you doing? Like, you have a hard time getting up to go to school, and now you're waking up and leaving the house at 4:50. And he's like, well, I see you do it, and I want to get strong. If you can do it, I can do it. And it was like, oh my gosh, like that meant the world, because you lead by example. And yeah, do I complain about it every now and then? Sure. But my actions speak louder than, my intentions. And so I just do the best I can. But then I've got other kids that I'm like, come walk with me at night. Heck no. And so you just have to realize, like, I fight and fight, like, eat the vegetables I'm eating, and it just doesn't work. So I found that each kid also responds differently and will come into that on their own and has different, especially with 3 girls and a boy. Like, my 3 girls have different relationships with their bodies and they view it differently. And so we focus on what we can do and how our body moves, and that's what we celebrate. So, one of my little girls is skinnier than the other, but my other daughter has more muscle mass. Her legs and butt are so muscular. So I'm like, yeah, but you can do amazing back hamstrings because those legs power you. And so now she views it completely differently. And so I'll always tell her, like, you got to hit your protein today if you want to use those legs to do your tumbling. And so, just encouraging her to eat a beef jerky stick or have chicken at lunch instead of the chips that she wanted. And so when I can, like, equate the reason, I want them to understand, just like with my women on my program, like, I want people to understand why they're doing what they're doing. I think that's the disconnect. Like, if you understood the food you had to eat or the something you had to buy or why I was having you do something, then it's way easier to see the belief behind it. So that's the same thing with our kids. Like, figure out a way to resonate with your kids, what their goal is, whether it's, they're on a soccer team and want to run faster. They just want to feel better, or, whatever they complain about, something hurts. Okay, let's work on flexibility to make that feel better. And then they can equate it. As far as getting kids to eat things they don't like, I have zero suggestions. None. Other than bribing, I don't know. Some kids eat better and some kids don't.
That's true.
There's nothing. That literally just comes down to the kids. So yeah, they see me. I don't track anymore. I don't count calories. Like, I know where my food is.
Yeah.
I just want to have a healthy relationship and demonstrate that for my kids. And so every time I am looking at a label, my daughter will pipe up and say, how much protein's in that? So, like, my kid knows I'm not looking at a label to see, how many calories is this because it'll make me fat. Right? Like, and that's the culture, that's the thought I used to have. And so she'd always worry, like, Mom, is that going to make you fat? And so I don't want them to ever think that. That's an emotion response to a food that shouldn't be there. We don't want emotional responses with the food we eat. And so now when I'm looking at something, she knows now, because I read it out loud. I've talked to her, I'm like, hey, help me find out, like, I want the protein so I have big muscles, so I can move better, I can get better at my push-ups. Like, what's the thing on this label? Like, do you see any grams of protein on here? That's what I'm looking at. And I need more calories so that I can build the muscle. And obviously we've got to stay within our allotted calories a day. So we do look at calorie numbers, we do track, but I let them know, just like with a car, with gas to get to A to B, there's only a certain amount of gas your car needs. So Mom's trying to figure out exactly the best foods I can eat to get me from A to B to help with my physical goal of doing more pull-ups or push-ups or bench pressing more. Like, I equate it to all movement. And then they understand and see, okay, this is why you're eating what you're eating. Even if you're looking at, I only want half the cookie, not the full. I explain why. And so the more you educate them, but equate it to something that makes sense, has nothing to do with body fat loss or how they look, I hope is helpful.
Yeah. I mean, that, from what you're saying and from what I'm thinking, it seems like a very, it seems like a small distinction, but it's an important distinction, because instead of calories meaning fat or not, it actually means this allows your body to move this way, or, to build these things or something like that. So I think that's awesome. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, you can look at it, obviously looking for the calories and fat and carb grams, because we are aware of that, especially if you're tracking, and it's important to know. But what I verbalize to them, and sometimes convincing of myself, is, the one thing you need to hit every day is protein. I don't care where your carbs and fats are, hit your protein every day. That's like the most important number one habit to do. And so, I mean, we'll be in the grocery store, like, one of my girls will be like, oh, does that have more protein than this? I mean, it's like, it's so bad. They're so, just because I involve them in, like, the getting healthy process, and I've explained to them that's why we make certain food choices. But we all have treats. Like, your kids should still have a treat. I still have a treat. When we go to get ice cream, I have it. I may have a smaller portion than them, or I shouldn't say than what I would have had before, which is like the largest size. I stop when I'm full. And so I'm a big believer in, you can be starving, satisfied, or stuffed. And we don't want to be starving or stuffed. We want to be satisfied. And so that's another habit you work on, is stopping and being mindful when you're actually satisfied, which for me is only half a large cookie. Whereas I used to eat the whole thing. I now have worked on the habit of, my body's saying I'm probably done, even though I want to eat the rest. I set the example of saving it for the next day or letting someone else finish it. So,
and I think doing it that way as well can boost your confidence, because you look at yourself, it's like, hey, I used to have to eat the whole cookie, and I choose to eat half the cookie now. And I'm a badass for doing that, because that's hard.
Yes. Yeah. Like confidence, right? That's what I keep going back to, is if I can instill confidence in any small thing. You may not see the scale move, but you, just like you said, your habits have changed to where the food doesn't control you. The emotional craving doesn't control you. You control what you put in your mouth. And it's a very empowering feeling. I mean, it sounds lame, but it really is, which again goes back to mindset. So when that lady said, can you guarantee I lose 10 pounds in a month? I was like, you're missing the magic of everything, because ultimately you're changing yourself, right? We're not looking at changing our physical body. Like if I look at Jessica now versus 4 years ago, I am a much more driven, consistent, happy, motivated, like empathetic, like it's changed me in so many ways, because I had to overcome a lot. It's hard. And I'm more confident now, right? And all that spreads. So if you allow the process to change you, it's really awesome, which is why I started my own business and wanted to help other women do the same things.
Yeah. So, I'm sure a lot of people look at you and think, oh, she's a machine. Like she's just super legit. I can never get there. Is there something that you still struggle with?
Oh yeah. I've stuck in a lot of stuff. And so I think because you online, or you see someone at a store and they just see maybe like a bicep line, or they'll see what I can bench at the gym, right? They think everything must be easy. And it's like, no, I still am taking baby steps every single day working at habits, because I have my clients in the beginning, I encourage them to do like a journal of movement and food intake. So we look at all the things we're potentially doing that we could do better. And that's a list of hope, right? We want to see change. Now I got an action plan. I got 32 things to change to get to where I want to be. And I love that. I love seeing that there's lots to change. And then you slowly work. So I'm 4 years in and I still have numerous things on that action plan. But as my level of effort scale goes up, I can take on more habits to change. So the two hardest things, the two hardest things for me, which are pretty important, are I'm terrible at my water intake. Awful. Every single day, I'm like, I'm going to do better. I do challenges with my people. I'll do better. Never. I always quit. I like water. Like, it doesn't make sense. That should be the easiest thing, but I can't explain it. I just don't take the time to do it. If it was really a priority to me, I'd make it happen. And I'm okay saying, it's not that big a priority. I'm going to work on something else. So we have to have that self-awareness of like, am I terrible at it? Do I get probably half of what I should? Absolutely. But I obviously haven't changed the habits. I don't want it bad enough. I'm just going to work on it later. The other, which is even more critical, is sleep. I'm terrible. I don't get enough sleep. My business is extremely overwhelming. There's a lot to it. I'm constantly growing. And I have 4 kids and my husband travels. And so I'm like a single mom. And so I wake up early to get stuff in, and I preach to everyone else the importance of sleep, but I can't make myself get in bed early enough. Again, if it was a priority, I would do it. So then I have to say it's not a priority yet. Whatever I'm doing instead is more important than getting an extra hour of sleep. And so I've got it. I know I have to change that. I know I need to get better at that. It's just not today. So I'll do it tomorrow.
Definitely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think being aware enough to be like, hey, this is what I'm choosing. I know I'm not great at it, and I choose to work on this later. I got other stuff to work on. I think that probably helps the mindset as well.
Well, do you see that I didn't have an emotional attachment to what I suck at? Like, that's the biggest problem, is I don't allow my emotional attachment or connection to anything, whether it be food. Like, I didn't eat that, I'm a failure, or I ate that, I cheated on something, and then I feel bad about myself. Why do I suck? Because I gave in and ate another cookie. I'm like, I ate the other cookie, I'll do better tomorrow. Like, because I cannot let that self-belief diminish. Like, if I were to say, if you were to ask me what's the one reason people don't sign up for your program, or what's the one reason people won't pay for a better supplement, when they have the money, because they put the money into their kids, they pay for TV and phone, don't tell me you don't have the money. Tell me the honest, legit answer. I'm not ready to commit. That's what I respect, because I did that so long. I was like, oh, we don't have money here, here, and here, but I was shoveling money into my kids' sports who were 8, and it didn't even matter. But I didn't have the self-belief knowing that I'd stick with it. So I use money as an excuse to not do it. And so if that's one of the biggest reasons I feel like people don't start or commit to something is, and I get it, that we have the lack of self-belief that I'll stick with it this time. I've failed so many other times. I hate how I feel failing. Why would I even start again? And so I've tried to help them realize, like, you've got to cut the emotional attachment. I call it wash days or wash week, where it's a wash. Like we're going to have like out of the whole year, they're not going to be perfect every week. Nobody is. So I maybe have 7 wash weeks a year. That's a lot. But when you think of the days you wake up and you're like, I don't feel like doing that. Or scheduling does it for me to do it. Or I'm in the car for 13 hours, like I can't, no prep. And so there's a wash days. Like I have zero emotional attachment to if I don't get something done. So for me, like as I noticed, I know I should eat, like sleep better. I know I should get better at water. I know that there's other things I could do better, but I don't know. I'm not going to do them now. They're not a priority. Like it's on the back burner and I don't feel bad about what I don't do. And so I work and focus on what I am doing because that feels a lot better. And when I'm ready, when I'm mentally prepared, when I have the right support system, when I've got the time during the day, I'll work on that next habit. And so if we can just get past the fact that, yeah, you blew the weekend and ate 1 billion more calories than you should, and you drank too much, you had too much cake and didn't work out, who cares? It happened. It was a wash weekend. Don't assign any emotion. Don't quit. Just mark it off the calendar and start the next day. And you let me look back and say, do I feel good after doing all that? No, like my body feels like crud. I have that pit in my stomach because I overate. I probably did too much. And so don't do it again based on that, the feeling that you go off of. Like the internal physical feeling, but not the guilt, right? We're so hard on ourselves anyways. So if I can get women to just stop the emotional connection and tie and just, it didn't happen, I'll do it tomorrow. Because I'm not going to cry myself to sleep if I don't mop the floor. And I told myself I'm going to mop today. Like I told myself every Tuesday I'm going to mop the floor. And if I didn't happen, I didn't make it a priority. Okay, then how can I be mad at myself? I didn't make it a priority. I didn't do it. And so I'll do it the next day. Right? It's the same with eating and working out. We just, for some reason, attach this emotional response to it that makes us feel worse about ourselves.
Yeah, it doesn't help at all.
No.
So as you're talking, I mean, you have so much knowledge, and from your experiences, I think it's amazing. And I think, as I've mentioned before, my background is football. My background is sports, and what I've seen is that being from sports and then being in business now, there are a lot of principles that I learned in sports that I apply to business. And it's been really cool to have that experience. Fitness, I think, is very similar. You can learn a lot of the same lessons in fitness. So how has fitness and doing these things for the last few years helped you going into your business and being prepared for your business? Was it like an easy transition, or did it still suck terribly?
No, it still sucked. Because it goes back to, am I a consistent person? Naturally, no. Am I usually fear-driven and a little insecure with new things? Yes. Do I like new challenges? No. So like we have to step back and say, if I have those traits in most other aspects of my life, I'm most likely to have the same traits in fitness or starting a business or whatever else we're doing. And so I had to recognize, okay, my limitations are this, or this. Like I need to work on those. I need to be prepared that area might be more of a struggle. And for me, honestly, it was just starting. And so I'm still like that. Like I was really intimidated by doing the bench press. It just intimidated me. I didn't necessarily know how to do it correctly. I didn't want to look stupid. I felt like I should know how to do it. And so I avoided it. And that's kind of what I did, honestly, with my business. I was a trainer at a gym, right? A box gym where there was no insecurity because they took care of everything. So when I wanted to start my own, and I remember all it was, when I first started, when I left the gym, my transition was here in my home gym, I filmed HIIT workouts because everybody wanted some sort of cardio, but HIIT workouts are hard. And so I thought, well, that's what worked for me in the beginning. I'll lead them and I'll do it with people because I wanted to be that person that helped them be accountable to, and they could do it with me, so it was more fun. I wish I'd had someone to do mine. So I would come down here and I led 3 Facebook Live workouts a week just for free. I didn't charge anybody. And I let everyone on Instagram join my group, and I did it for like, I don't even know, 8, 9, 10 months. It was so much work because I would film the night before walking them through each of the movements and how to modify them. Yeah. My kids had to sit on the camera and press start and stop and adjust the lighting for me. Like this was a whole family event. And I did that for months and then would do the workouts, and just doing that online terrified me. I had to get a business coach. Literally, I signed up with a business coach. There was group coaching, so it wasn't like one-on-one, but I had someone to tell me, because I kept thinking she will help me figure out how to do that. Because I had this idea that I want to do these Facebook groups. I couldn't make myself do it. The same thing, I walk by the bench press every single day. I'm like, I'll lay down on the bench and chest press tomorrow. Same thought. I put that business idea off over and over and over because I might not do it right. I feel stupid. And the fear of like, well, what if it is successful? Then what do I do? And so I have had to like get past those insecurities, and just do it. Just do the thing.
So did you get past the insecurity and then was able to do it? Or was it just do it and then hopefully I get past the insecurities?
Because my thought was like, what do you have to lose? You have nothing to lose. And so my coach told me, like, Jess, if you had started this 3 months ago when our group session started, you'd have 3 more months of helping people and money. You've lost 3 months of income because you didn't start it. And I think the same with bench pressing, like I could have been at this weight already, but because I don't even try, right? How many times do we have opportunities when we're just nervous and hesitant, so we don't try? And so she finally gave me a deadline and said, by this call next week on our group call, you've had to at least set up the account for Facebook, right? And so I just had to do it. Like there was I didn't have to worry. I didn't stress about it. I just literally one day I'm like, today I'm going to do it. So I filmed it. I opened an account. I asked people to join all in one day, and I posted my first workout. And the same thing with bench press. I talked to a friend and said, this is what I want to do. Let's sit down. Had somebody help coach me through it. And so you just do it. And now here I am. I still have those tendencies. Like I'll want to launch a new product, or like I want to do something. It's like, I don't know how to do it. But I tell myself like, oh my gosh, shut up and just do it. And so I don't allow that self-talk. It's just on my action list. I break it down to baby steps. So I'm like, okay, well, if my end goal is here, work backwards with my action plan. And so, I mean, it's for everything. I want to start YouTube. I'm going to start podcasting. I have all these things I want to do. And so I break that backwards and say, well, by the end of today, I'm going to do this small baby step because I can handle that. And that's how I could build my bench press. I just bench pressed for me 145, which was a ton. Yeah. And going from like more of my body weight, like it was the same visual representation of taking that same fear and insecurity to building a business.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't done like where I am now, I mean, my gosh, I'd kick myself if I stayed in that lack of self-belief and hadn't done anything. So it's break down, visualize what you want to do. Tell yourself, like my coach would say, like, so if those girls you're admiring that have these online programs, like what you would like to be like, if they can do it, then why could they do it, but not you?
Yeah.
Like, you're just as cool. You've got the same knowledge. You have a good following. Like, why could they do it, not you? Why are they worthy of it, but not you? Why do you still have imposter syndrome? And so that's when I was like, yeah, I can do that. I had to tell myself, and then just did it. Don't overthink. Don't wait for the right day, the right time, the right partner. Just start sucking. It's going to suck. But know that over the year, you'll make it better and better and better, which I have over and over and over. It's going to suck. Prepare for it to suck. My bench press sucked. But every day it gets better.
Yeah. That's awesome. So the first time you posted your Facebook lives or whatever, what was the result? Was it as awesome as you thought it was going to be? Was it as terrible as you thought it was going to be?
I have the same response every time I do this to myself of, why did I wait so long? That was so easy. That wasn't hard. They liked it. I did well. Like, I kicked myself. I was so bugged because it was probably a 5-month wait until I did that first Facebook group. Like I pushed it I came up with every excuse in the book. I have family issues. It's cold outside. I don't like the day of the week that it is. Like, it was a lack of self-belief. And so, that was a really good turning point for something that was scary to me because it was more of like, they're now looking at me as a leader. And can I do that? Right? It comes back to self-belief. Yeah. And so I had to stop and say, okay, I can do this. And what's the worst that's going to happen? I ask that's the question I ask all the time, 1,000 times a day. If I do this, if I say this, if I sign up for this, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah.
All right. That's not that bad. I can do it.
Okay.
And so that's my tag. I ask you, what's the worst that can happen?
No, that's perfect. So when you actually started gaining a lot of traction, did it happen like in a very short period of time, or did it kind of just gradually happen over the years where you got your big following on social media and, all of your clients? And how did you handle that?
I think it's been a process, just like building my body, changing my mindset. It's not overnight. And I think if it was overnight, you wouldn't appreciate it. I've worked my butt off at a large sacrifice. I haven't slept in a year to be able to help other women get where they are by building my business, that I have an avenue to help them, to grow my account, to all these things that I do. but I appreciate it. Like, I mean, that's gonna make me emotional. Like, it's come at a cost of, like, not seeing my kids because I'm working. Everything comes at a cost, but that journey of it means so much more to me. And I hope that comes through to my clients, that it's genuine. It's not about the money. I charged nothing when I first, did my Facebook groups. And then I decided to start charging and, like, put it in an app and, like, take that next step and actually make it a business. And I was so scared all over again, but I didn't allow myself to live in that moment. It was like, do it, and you're doing it now. Like, do not think about it. What's the worst to lose? And so I just did it, and then figured out the details later. Like, I literally was like, I'll do the best version I can today, and knowing it's far from perfect. But as I get doing it, it will get better and better and better, which, I mean, it's night and day from where it was then to now. And I doubled the price. Like, what I charged then was nothing. And I've now got the confidence to double the price because it's good.
Yeah.
And so it's just, you got to just start. But no, it all takes, anything that's good takes a while.
Yeah.
But you got to be real. And I think, I'm hoping that's why people relate, is I'm just a dork that likes to cheer people on. I count to 10. That's it. So I couldn't care less how many people there are followers. Like, when I'm with somebody, or if I'm talking on a story, or when I write a post, I have every single time I have one person in mind. I write this post for someone that's messaged me or a client that I have. I don't write this for the 1 million people that's going to see it in a 7-day time period, by my insights telling me that. Like, I don't ever think, I don't get ready in the gym before I take a picture. Like, some people fix their hair and put on chapstick. I'm like, here's my sweaty mess. This is what you look like. This is what I look like. You don't like it, move on.
Yeah.
Because I want women to see, like, the real side of it, that some days suck. Some days your hair looks good. Some days you stink. Like, it's just, there's that reality piece. And so whenever I write or do something, I only think of that one person I care about. Like, this will answer that question, and I hope that it also helps somebody else. Because we're in this together. Like, that's the whole point. My tagline is, we get strong together. So join my program. Let's get strong together. It's not you by yourself. We all go through it. We all stink, right?
Yeah. So what is next then for your company or brand? Do you have anything coming up that you're excited to work on, or is it a secret?
No. It's just constant education. I think a sign of any good coach is they're constantly learning, so you're constantly evolving. I'm continually finding ways to make my program better and better and easier for people and more relatable. And the big push now is the nutrition piece. Like, mine's a strength workout. That's what the purpose is. But I have so many women, they're like, I still haven't lost weight. I want to quit the program. I'm like, well, this isn't a weight loss program. Like, you've gained muscle mass. We've talked about that. You can lift heavier, so the program's working. But people always think it's the exercise that is supposed to make the changes, and it's not. It's not at all. It's the food. And so my big push now, and I'm launching a whole bunch of videos with a nutritionist that works with me, and a nutrition coach. So I've got 2 people around my team that help me every single day. And between the 3 of us, we're putting together all these nutrition videos and pieces within my program, and some that we'll share outside of my program, to help people have a better understanding of, let me help you understand why you're not losing weight. And here's a better grasp of nutrition, because I think you have to understand your body type. People don't realize that. We all have different body types, and you must find your own to know how to move and eat. Gut health is huge. Nobody focuses on that. Stress, cortisol, hormones, and blood sugar levels. So, it is. But this is why when a woman reaches out to me crying, like, I've done everything. I'm eating in a deficit. I can't go any lower, but my body's not changing, and I feel like crap. It's because of all these other pillars. And so we want to be that place where you can come and find the reason why you're not seeing changes, so that we can make you feel good. So all that's going to be happening. I want to get more heavily involved in YouTube, and then start my own podcast also. So those are the things that I'm getting ready to do, just so that I can help empower and educate women that much more, because I don't want anybody sitting at home feeling like they're crappy and they're the only ones that can't do this. And the only thing missing is they don't have that education piece to understand how. Yeah. And so if I can educate, then they'll be able to hopefully apply that to their own lives and build that confidence, which is a way better feeling.
Yeah. I mean, this has been very enlightening to me, and I'm sure lots of other people will find this really valuable. If somebody wants to connect with you and, maybe start a program, or at the very least, just maybe get some education from you, where do they go?
No, that's a great question. Most everything runs through my Instagram account, just Gunning for Fitness. That's where I share a good portion of content. And on there's a link to my website, also Gunning for Fitness, to all my coaching programs. And so there's strength workouts based on the length of time you want for a workout, and if you work out at home or gym. So it's super simple. Like, it should just be a basic as that. And then within that, I'm hoping to educate them enough for them to see the results that they want, which is feeling and moving and looking better. So the best place is just through there. But yeah, reach out. That's what I'm here for. Like, my whole platform is so that they feel like they've got someone else that's alongside them, so they can feel as good as I do, right? Because that's what drives me, is I feel better, and I want them to be in that same position.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jess, for spending time with us. Unfortunately, we are out of time, and I am so bummed. I could do this for hours. But thanks so much.
Your story too. Yeah, I appreciate it. If we can get that message out to women so they can feel better, that's what this is all about. So